Hello again and welcome back to another episode of What's New at the Attorney General's Office. This marks our 12th week and it also marks the last week of training for the 170th Basic Training course here at the Law Enforcement Training Center. That's right, 40 plus students are going to be completing their law enforcement certification this week, and that means that they've got a couple of tests and a couple of key exercises that they have to go through before they reach graduation day. Today we're going to be looking at one of those two big exercises that they have left. It's called the dynamic exercise, and we're about to see why. The dynamic exercise actually starts in the atrium, not in the gymnasium where you would expect. The students are put together, and they're put into their red training gear, made sure that the helmets are fitted and the mouthpieces are in place, and then they wait. They can talk to each other. Each student is called through and they run through the course one at a time. This waiting actually serves a purpose as part of the exercise. The pulse rates go up as the anticipation builds. Their system gets amped up. They start mentally envisioning what they're going to be going through, what their plan of action is going to be once it starts. And it already puts them in a pretty agitated state by the time their number is called. That's where we're going to pick up the action. They make that 30-plus foot crawl through the pads to get into the gymnasium, and that's where the exercise really begins getting physical. Once through with the crawl, they're then going to be running through a series of punches, palm heel strikes, followed by straight punches. When time is called, they then move on to knee strikes, and then ankle kicks, all with a hopefully more than willing training partner. After this, it's over to grab the 165-pound dummy, simulating having to help an officer in distress. This is dead weight that they have to grab and drag. Once they're done with that half-court drag, it's on to the next pad, where it simulates an attacker who has gotten the advantage on a law enforcement officer. The attacker is placed on top, and at this time, really what they're looking for from the trainees is that they're controlling their breathing, trying to work their way out of the situation. Get out from underneath that attacker, take the advantage away from that individual. Once they work through that part of the exercise, it's then on to dealing with a non-cooperative subject, someone who is not being compliant. They're supposed to take them into custody, place handcuffs on them, and as you can see, that person is not being cooperative in the least. Now, the uncooperative individual, it's interesting to note, is Waylon Eckert, the guy who helps put on this training. He runs through every single one of these individuals, or at least as many as he can. With 40 plus, that's a pretty big feat to ask of anybody. But Waylon goes through it, asks for it, carries on, helps them all learn a little bit more about themselves. This exercise takes a lot out of the students. I watched a lot of them run through it. The recovery time is not simple, it's not easy, and it's not short. They learn a lot about themselves and how they handle stressful situations going through this thing. And it's all part of what makes them better law enforcement officers for helping protect South Dakota. That is quite the exercise, and I'm personally quite glad that I don't have to go through it. But I am very glad that our trained and certified law enforcement officers in South Dakota do go through training like this, so they know how to handle pretty much anything that might come their way when they're out on the job trying to keep us safe. Now, make sure you tune in again next week, because this was the first of two exercises that we're going to be looking at and covering for you here on the What's New series. The next one's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit more exciting, and possibly a little bit noisier. You don't want to miss it. Until next time, I'm Chief of Staff Tim Bormann for the South Dakota Attorney General's Office. I'd like to thank you for watching. Once again, I'd like to remind you to click on subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on social media. We're active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, thanks for watching.